Hello, my name is Carl Lewis. I'm a senior service technician here at Northfield. In this video, we're going to introduce the 1700 HJR Hinge Jamb router. The Hinge Jamb router is designed to prep hinge jambs for interior and exterior doors. In this video, we're going to be removing the covers to make it easier to see what's going on. 1700 HJR can prep jambs that are flat jambs, stop applied, split jambs, single rabbeted or double rabbeted. It'll prep jambs from 2.5 inches wide to 10.5 inches wide, from 3/8 of an inch thick to 2.5 inches thick. It will prep hinges that are 3.5 wide through 5 inches wide, and from 1 1/8 inch reveal to 1.5 inch reveal. The standard 1700 HJR comes with 3 routers on it for 3 hinge positions. There is an optional 4th router that can be added for 8-foot doors and so on. When you first receive your 1700 HJR, it'll be wrapped in plastic and mounted inside of a wooden crate. You'll need to remove the top and sides of the crate, remove the plastic from the machine, leave the machine bolted to the crate base, and move that into as close as possible to the final position. Then unbolt the machine from the crate base and position it in its final position. Be sure that the machine sets level and doesn't rock. Also, there needs to be at least 30 inches of clearance behind the machine to access the electrical box, and adequate clearance around the front of the machine to move your material. The air connection is here. This is an OSHA approved lockout shut-off valve. So when I shut the air off here, it not only shuts off the incoming air, but it drains all of the air out of the machine. Next, we have a particulate filter and a regulator. There's also a water trap. Any water in the system will get trapped in this. There's also a filter in here to filter out anything in the air. The regulator should be set for 90 psi. There it is. This handle here, we pull it up and snap it up, and then it'll adjust the air pressure. The next unit up here is a pressure sensor to determine if there is air pressure or not. The machine will not function without air pressure. When connecting the main electrical, the main disconnect switch is here. We'll connect the 220 single phase to these 2 connections and the neutral here, and that should be all you need for electrical connection. So these 3 fuses are the main fuses for the main disconnect that control all of the incoming power. There is a disconnect relay, which is operated by the E-stop on the front of the machine. You have branch circuit protection for each of the routers individually. This circuit breaker here is branch circuit for the controller. The controller controls all of the machine functions. You have 4 relays down here for the 4 router assemblies. So each of the routers has a vacuum connection on it, where we can connect a 2.5 inch hose. The 2.5 inch hose is then connected to adapters for 4 inch and Ys together so that we can connect it to a dust collection system. There is a small control panel to the operator's left, down below the top for the frame. The top switch is the control power switch. When you turn that on, it turns on the control power, cycles ready lamp comes on. The lower switch is for the eject cylinders to decide whether or not we want the eject cylinders to push the jamb off from the ramps after the cycle's done. To select that option, we can turn it on. The eject cylinders will come out and retract 1 time to indicate that they're on. To convert the machine from 1 3/4 to 1 3/8 door jambs, we need to change the tabs underneath here. The skinny tabs like this are for the 1 3/4 doors. If we loosen the set screw here, remove the thin tab, place it with the thick tab. These tabs are for 1 3/8" doors. Push that in and tighten the set screw. There are 2 of those tabs on each router assembly. To adjust for the thickness of the jamb, the jamb ramps and the cylinder mounts are mounted on slotted holes and are adjustable vertically. We'll loosen the bolts and adjust them up and down so that the thickness of jamb that you want to run will slide easily in with ample clearance, but still at a height that's close to where it would be clamped up to. The turret stop on the side of the router controls the back set of the mortise into the jamb. There are 3 settings, comes from the factory. The shortest bolt here gives you 1.5" into the door. The next one up is 1 7/16". The longest bolt gives you 1 1/8 inches into the jamb. There's a turret on each of the routers, so they all need to be set at the same position. The end stop is used to position the jamb so that we get the correct distance from the dado to the top of the first hinge. So the bolt can be used for minor adjustments. We have 2 stops, so you can set one for interiors and one for exteriors, or one for splits and one for flats as necessary. The major adjustment, you loosen the lock nut, the whole assembly can move back and forth for a major adjustment. When changing the mortise width from 3.5 to 4 or 4.5, you also need to change the side-to-side stop bars. The stop bars contact the limit switches and let the router know when it has reached the end of travel. These bars exist only on the center router in the case of a 3-router machine. There's a limit switch on each side to tell the machine when the router has reached the end of travel. They are marked up here for position. This center mark is the 4-inch. There's the 3.5. There's another mark at the 1/4 inch increment up here for 4.5. We need to set both bars to the correct setting for the mortise we're going to do. To adjust the mortise width from 3.5 to 4-inch or 4.5, there is an adjustment bolt here which hits the turret stop on this side. The adjustment bolt can be used to make fine adjustments to get the size exactly to fit the mortise. To change from 3.5 to 4 or 4.5, we rotate the turret stop. When the bolt contacts the high point, that's 3.5. When it's the medium one, where it is now, that's 4, and the lowest setting is 4.5 inch. If you need to get to 5 inch, you will remove the turret completely so that the bolt comes in contact with the aluminum frame. So there is a stop turret on each side of each of the routers that operates that way. To turn the stop turret, you need to loosen the lock bolt on the outside of the frame. Then the turret can rotate and then lock the lock bolt down again. So to change the width of the mortise, there's 2 turrets on each router. So in the case of the 3-router machine we have here, that's 6 turrets. And then the 2 stop bolts on the center router. So that's 8 total places you need to change the adjustment. When positioning the routers for a specific hinge placement or hinge spacing, the center router on a 3-hinge machine should be roughly in the center of the machine. And then you can measure from the alignment pin on one router to the alignment pin on the other router to get your spacing. Hook the tape measure over the alignment pin, measure to the close side of the pin, and that should tell you the spacing from center to center, or top to top as the case may be, from one hinge to the next. So we'll position those 2 assemblies so that they are the correct distance apart. To move the routers side to side, there are 2 lock handles underneath each one on the left and the right. Loosen the lock handle, and then the router assemblies will slide left and right. When you've got the position you want, you can lock them down again to keep them from moving. To change the depth of the hinge mortise, We'll unsnap the router, rotate the ring as necessary to raise or lower the router to get the correct depth. Snap it closed to lock it in place. When operating the 1700 HJR, always wear your safety glasses and your earplugs. Operating is quite simple. Take the jamb, place it on the jamb ramps against the stops. Step on the pedal.